Have you ever walked into a room and forgotten why you went in there? Or started telling a story, only to lose your train of thought halfway through? You're not alone, and you're not losing your marbles either. As we age, little things like memory slips or moments of forgetfulness start to pop up more often. But here's the good news. Just like your body needs exercise to stay strong, your brain needs activity to stay sharp. And keeping it in good shape can actually be fun, more fun than you might think. Think of your brain like a muscle. If you don't use it, it gets weaker. But the right mental workouts can help it stay agile, flexible, and responsive, like doing stretches for your thoughts. That's why today, we're diving into something that's both enjoyable and incredibly good for your brain. Games. Not just any games, though. These are specific types of brain games that are especially helpful for keeping your mind fast and flexible well into your 60s, 70s, and beyond. We're going to talk about 6 of these brain-boosting games that you can start using right away. Some of them you might already know, and a few might surprise you. You don't need a fancy computer or a complicated app. Some of the best tools for your brain are things you can do while sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea, or during a quiet afternoon with a friend or grandchild. Let's start with something simple, but powerful. Have you ever played a good old-fashioned word search? You know, the kind where you scan a grid of letters looking for hidden words. It might seem like light entertainment, but what it's really doing is training your brain to spot patterns, focus your attention, and improve your visual scanning skills. It's like a magnifying glass for your mind, helping you zoom in and stay sharp. Word games in general, like crosswords, anagrams, or even Scrabble, are fantastic for language, memory, and reasoning. They make your brain sift through information, make connections, and recall words you haven't used in a while. And you know what? It's not just about the words. It's the process of looking, thinking, testing, and solving that give your brain the real workout. Plus, word games can be incredibly calming. Sitting down with a puzzle book or playing around a boggle with a friend gives you something to look forward to, something that makes your brain feel alive and awake. And when you find that last tricky word you've been hunting for, that little moment of triumph can do wonders for your confidence. Now, let's shift gears a bit. Have you ever tried a game like Sudoku or a simple number puzzle? I know some folks hear the word math and want to run for the hills, but stick with me here. You don't have to be a whiz with numbers to enjoy Sudoku. In fact, it's not really about the math. It's about logic, strategy, and critical thinking. That little grid of boxes isn't just for number lovers. It's for anyone who wants to strengthen their mental flexibility. The beauty of games like Sudoku is that they make your brain work through trial and error, evaluate choices, and keep track of patterns. All of that supports your working memory, which is a part of the brain that helps you hold on to bits of information while you're using them, like remembering a phone number long enough to dial it, or keeping a recipe in your head while you're cooking. And the best part? You can start at any level. There are beginner puzzles that are perfect if you're just getting into it, and more advanced ones to keep things spicy once you got the hang of it. And speaking of working memory, here's another type of game that might surprise you with how effective it is. Remember those old card games like Concentration or Memory, where you lay out all the cards face down and try to find matching pairs? That's not just a game for kids. It's actually a fantastic way to improve memory and visual attention. You're not just flipping cards. You're strengthening your recall, training your brain to pay attention to detail, and keeping your mental muscles engaged in a focused task. You can play memory with a deck of playing cards, or even with homemade cards featuring pictures of your grandkids, animals, or household items. The key is to keep your brain actively looking for patterns and remembering where things are. And trust me, the satisfaction of remembering where that one card was hiding, that little aha moment, it never gets old. What I really love about these types of games is that they're easy to bring into your everyday life. You don't need to carve out an hour or clear your schedule. 10 or 15 minutes here and there, while the coffee's brewing or after dinner, is all it takes. And if you do them with a friend or loved one, you're not only working your brain, you're strengthening your social bonds too. That connection is just as important for brain health as any puzzle or problem-solving exercise. Now that we've explored a few ways to wake up your mind with words, numbers, and memory matching, let's keep the momentum going. There's another kind of game, maybe one you haven't tried yet, That's especially good at keeping your brain quick on its feet.
This
Have you
one's
ever
all
walked
about
into a
reaction
room and forgotten
and
why
speed.
you went in there?
Now, you might
Or
be
started
thinking,
telling a story.
do I really
only
need
to
to be
lose
fast
your train of
anymore?
thought halfway through?
And my answer
You're
to
not
that is
alone.
absolutely.
And you're not losing
Not
your
Olympic
marbles
athlete fast,
either.
of course.
As we
But
age,
quick enough to
little
stay
things
sharp,
like memory
alert,
slips
and
or
confident
moments of
in your
forgetfulness
day-to-day life
start to pop up
One of
more
the best
often.
ways to keep
But
your
here's the
mental
good
reflexes
news.
in shape,
Just
is
like your
through games
body
that
needs
challenge your
exercise to
reaction
stay strong.
time.
Your
Think of those
brain
quick
needs
response
activity
apps
to stay
or
sharp.
even simple games
And
like
keeping it in
whack-a-mole,
good
shape
really
can actually be
anything
fun,
that forces you
more
to
fun
respond
than you might
quickly
think.
to a changing
Think of
situation.
your brain like a
Can
muscle.
strengthen what's
If
known
you
as
don't use
cognitive
it, it
flexibility.
gets weaker.
That's your
But the
brain's
right mental
ability to
workouts
shift
can help it
gears,
stay
adjust
agile,
new
flexible,
information,
and
and stay
responsive.
adaptable.
Like doing
Now,
stretches for your
you don't need a
thoughts.
game arcade.
That's
to
why
get
today
that benefit.
there are apps out
diving
there
into
with
something
simple
that's both
reaction
enjoyable
games like
and
tapping the
incredibly
screen
good for your
when you
brain.
see a certain color
Games,
or matching images,
not just any
as
games,
quickly as possible.
These
But
are
even without a
specific
types
device,
of brain games
you can
that are
still work on
especially
this
helpful
skill.
for keeping your mind
Try
fast
tossing a
and
small
flexible
ball
against the
well
wall
into your
and
60s,
catching
70s, and
or
beyond.
clapping.
We're
Every
going to talk
time
about
someone
6
says
of
a
these
specific
brain-boosting
word in a
games that
conversation
you can
game.
start using
It
right
sounds
away.
a little silly.
Some of them you might already
But it's those
know,
playful
and a few
challenges
might
that
surprise
keep
you.
your brain alert.
You don't need a
The
fancy
best part,
computer or
you'll
a
probably have a
complicated
few
app.
good laughs
Some of the
along the
best
way.
tools for your brain.
And that laughter
are things you can
that
do while
joy
sitting
you
at the
feel
kitchen
while you're
table
playing
with a cup
go
of tea,
underestimated.
or during
Joyful
a quiet
play lights
afternoon
up your
with a
brain.
friend or
It
grandchild.
releases chemicals
Let's
that
start
actually
with something
support memory,
simple,
focus,
but
and emotional
powerful.
well-being. Have you
So
ever
when you're
played
having
a good
fun,
old-fashioned word
you're
search?
not just enjoying the
You know,
moment, you're literally
the
building
kind
a
where you scan a
stronger
grid of
brain.
letters looking for
Let's
hidden
talk about
words.
another wonderful,
It might
often
seem like
overlooked
light
brain
entertainment,
game.
but
Jigsaw
what it's really
puzzles.
doing is training
You
your
might
brain
already
to
have a
spot
few
patterns,
tucked away in a closet
focus your
somewhere.
attention, and
if
improve
you haven't
your
done
visual
one in a
scanning
while,
skills.
maybe it's time
It's like a
to bring one
magnifying
back to the
glass for
table.
your mind.
Jigsaw
Helping you
puzzles
zoom
are like
in and
food
stay
for your
sharp.
visual spatial thinking.
Word games in
that
general,
means your
like
brain is figuring
crosswords,
out how
anagrams,
shapes
or
fit
even
together,
Scrabble,
how pieces
are
relate to the
fantastic
bigger
for
picture,
language memory
and how to
and
rotate
reasoning.
things in your mind.
They make your brain
That's the kind of
sift through
mental
information,
gymnastics
make connections,
that's incredibly
and
good
recall
for
words you
aging
haven't
brains.
used in a while.
Doing puzzles,
And,
also
what?
builds
It's
patience
not
and
just about the
persistence.
words. You stick
It's the
with
process
it,
of looking
little by little,
thinking,
and eventually
testing,
you
and
start to
solving
see
that
the
give your
image
brain
come
a
together.
real workout.
It's a powerful
Plus,
reminder that
word
progress
games
often
can become
comes in
incredibly
small
common.
pieces.
Sitting
And that's
down
just
with
as
a puzzle
true
for
for
mental
or
health
playing around a
as it
bottle
is
with a
for
friend
any puzzle on the
gives
table.
you something to look forward
You can
to.
even make puzzling
Something
social
that makes your
activity.
brain feel
Invite
alive
a
and
neighbor
awake.
or a
And when you
grandchild to
find
sit
that last
and
tricky
do one
word
with
you've been
you,
hunting for,
you'll get the
that
brain
little
benefits
moment of
and the
triumph
joy of connection,
can do
all
wonders
while
for your
watching
confidence.
something beautiful take shape.
Now, that
Let's
quiet
shift gears a bit.
satisfaction when the
Have you ever
last
tried a
piece
game
clicks
like
into place?
Sudoku or
That's
a
the
simple
kind
number
of therapy
puzzle?
you can't buy
I
in a
know
bottle.
some folks hear the word
And while
math
we're on the subject
and
of
want to
fun
run
with
for the
others,
hills,
there's another
but
type
stick
of
with me
brain
here.
game that brings
You
people
don't have to
together
be a whiz
and
with
gives
numbers
your
to
brain
enjoy
real
Sudoku.
challenge strategy games.
In fact,
games like
it's
chess,
not really
checkers,
about math.
dominoes, or
It's
even
about
card
logic,
games like
strategy,
bridge
and critical
or rummy.
thinking.
These
That
aren't
little
just
grid
about
of
boxes.
winning.
They're about
just for
thinking
number
ahead,
lovers.
planning
It's
your
for
moves,
anyone who wants to
remembering
strengthen their
rules,
mental
and
flexibility.
staying mentally
The
active
beauty of
throughout the
games
game.
like Sudoku is
Think
that
about
they make
what
your brain
happens
work through
in a game
trial
of
and
chess.
error.
You're not
Evaluate
just
choices,
reacting, you're
and
predicting.
keep track of patterns.
You're analyzing your
All of
opponent's
that
moves,
supports your working
recalling
memory,
past strategies,
which is a part of the
and
brain
weighing
that
the
helps you
risks
hold
of
on
each
to this
decision.
information.
That
while
kind
you're
of thinking
using
is
them.
gold for your brain.
Like remembering a phone
It
number long
strengthens
enough to dial
reasoning
it,
skills,
or
supports
keeping a
decision-making
recipe in your head
and helps you
while
stay
you're
mentally
cooking.
agile. And the best
And
part,
if chess sounds
you
a
can
bit
start
too
at any
intense,
level.
don't worry.
There are
Even
beginner
simple
puzzles
games
that are
like
perfect
Uno or
if you're just
Go
getting
Fish
into
can
it.
give your brain a workout,
and more advanced
especially when
ones
you're
to keep
engaged,
things
focused,
spicy and having
once
fun.
you got the hang of it.
And here's a little
speaking
bonus.
of working memory,
when you regularly
here's
play
another
games
type of
that
game
require
that
you to
might
learn and
surprise
apply
you how
rules,
effective it
your
is.
brain builds
Remember
what we
those
call executive
old card
function,
games like
that a fancy
concentration
term
or
for the
memory,
skills that help you
where you
manage
lay out
time,
all the cards
plan
face
activities,
down,
and
try
juggle
to
tasks
find
that
matching
become more
pairs.
important.
That's not
It's
just a game
sometimes
for
more
kids.
challenging.
It's
As
actually a
age.
fantastic way
So
to
you're not
improve
just
memory
entertaining
and
visual attention.
yourself. You're
not just
supporting your
flipping
ability
cards
to
You're
live
strengthening your
independently
recall
and with confidence.
training your brain to pay
It's
attention
amazing,
to
isn't it?
detail. These
And
little
keeping
games,
your mental muscles
things
you might
engaged in
see
a
as just
focused
pastimes
task.
or hobbies.
You can play
are
memory with a
actually
deck of playing
powerful
cards,
tools for keeping
or
our minds
even with
vibrant
homemade
and healthy.
cards featuring
And the
pictures of
beauty
your
is
grandkids,
you can mix
animals,
and match.
or household
Some days
items.
you might feel like
The
a
key
crossword.
is to keep your brain
Other days
actively
around
looking for
dominoes
patterns
with a friend
and remembering where
the
things
variety
are.
itself is part
And
of what
trust
keeps the
me,
brain guessing,
the
learning,
satisfaction
and
of
growing.
remembering where that
And the
one
more you
card was
enjoy
hiding,
it, that
the
more
more
likely you
moment,
are to stick with it.
it never gets
That's
old.
a real key. Not
What I really
forcing
love
yourself
about
into
these
a
types
rigid
of
routine
games
is that
but
they're
weaving these
easy to bring
fundamental
into your
challenges
everyday life.
into your everyday
You don't need
life
to carve
in a
out
way
an
that
hour
feels
or
natural,
clear your
joyful,
schedule.
and sustainable.
10 or 15
So,
minutes here
what
and
does this
there
all mean for you?
while the coffee's
It
brewing
means
or
that
after
keeping your
dinner
mind quick
is
flexible,
all it takes.
and full of
And
life
if you
doesn't
do
have
them
to be
with
a friend
chore
or loved one.
it can be something
You're not
you
only
actually
working
look
your
forward
brain,
to. You're
Something
strengthening
that
your
fits into your
bonds
daily
too.
rhythm, like a favorite
That connection
song
is just
or
as
a
important for
cozy
brain
chair.
health as
And if
any
you ever
puzzle
catch yourself
or problem-solving
thinking,
exercise.
is this really helping?
Now that we've explored a few
Just
ways
remember,
to wake up your mind
every
with
time you
words,
stretch your
numbers,
mind,
and memory matching,
whether for the puzzle, a
let's
game,
keep the
or a
momentum
good laugh,
going. You're
there's another
investing in
kind
your
of game.
future self. Maybe when
Next
you haven't
time you're
tried
sipping your
yet.
morning coffee,
That's
or
especially
winding
good
down
at
in the
keeping your
evening,
brain quick on its
try
feet.
picking up one of these games.
Give your brain a little spark. You might be surprised at how good it feels not just mentally, but emotionally too. That sense of curiosity, of learning something new or figuring something out, it keeps you feeling young, connected, and in control. And speaking of staying in control and feeling good, there's one more type of brain game we haven't talked about yet. One that not only boosts mental power, but brings creativity and imagination into the mix. Because creativity doesn't retire when we do. In fact, sometimes it blooms even more in our later years. And one of the most powerful ways to tap into that creative side and give your brain a major boost is through games that involve imagination and storytelling. Think about games like Pictionary, charades, or even those finish the story kind of activities you might do with grandkids. They may seem silly at first, but they're secretly working wonders behind the scenes. You're thinking on your feet, using your memory, expressing ideas, and sometimes even interpreting clues or gestures. All of these are fantastic brain exercises. And here's the best part: these games bring laughter, spontaneity, and connection. You're not just exercising your mind in isolation. You're sharing moments, creating memories, and staying emotionally vibrant, too. That's what makes these kind of games so powerful. They're not just good for your thinking skills. They're good for your spirit. Even storytelling games you play solo can be helpful. Try this sometime. Pick a random photo from a magazine or an old album and make up a story about it. Who are the people? What happened just before this moment? What will happen next? By engaging your brain in creating a narrative, you're using memory, logic, language, and emotion all at once. It's like painting a picture with your mind, and every stroke strengthens a different area of your brain. Now, I know some people might say, I'm not creative, or I've never been good at that kind of thing. But let me gently challenge that. Everyone has creativity. It just looks different for each person. Maybe you're not someone who likes to draw or act, but you might be great at solving a mystery, figuring out clues, or telling stories from your past that your grandkids love to hear. That's creativity, too. And the more you play with it, the stronger and more confident you'll become. And speaking of confidence, let's not forget how powerful it is to feel in control of your mind, to feel like your memory is still strong, your thinking is still clear, and your wit is still quick. It's easy to get discouraged when little slips start to show up more often. But every single one of these games we've talked about is like a little reminder. You've still got it. You're still capable, still sharp, and still growing. That's something we don't hear enough as we get older, isn't it? That we're still growing. But it's true. The brain is remarkable. Even in your 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, it can keep forming new connections, learning new skills, and adapting to new challenges. You don't stop growing just because you've hit a certain birthday. And that's why these brain games matter. They help you keep that spark alive. So whether the crossword in the morning, a card game in the afternoon, a puzzle after dinner, or a silly round of charades with the grandkids on the weekend, every bit of it adds up. It's not about doing it perfectly or even doing it every single day. It's about making brain play a part of your life, the same way you go for a walk to stretch your legs or drink water to stay hydrated. And don't be afraid to try something new. Maybe there's a type of game you've never played before. Maybe a neighbor loves chess and can teach you. Maybe your local library has puzzle clubs or game nights. Or maybe you'll be the one to start a little game group, something casual, something joyful, something that makes you look forward to your afternoons again. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is really about. Yes, we want our minds to stay sharp. Yes, we want to avoid memory loss and stay independent. But more than anything, we want to feel alive, curious, engaged, full of possibility. And you don't need a prescription or a gym membership for that. Sometimes all you need is a game, a little time, and the willingness to play. So, before you go, I want to leave you with this. Your brain is on your side. It wants to stay strong. It wants to stay flexible, and it can with just a little help from you. Keep challenging it, keep having fun with it, and keep believing in it, because your best years aren't behind you, they're right here, and they're full of potential. If this inspired you, if you found a game you want to try, or even if it just gave you a little mental boost today, let us know in the comments below. What brain games do you enjoy? What helps you feel sharp, curious, and connected? And if you like more tips like this, more ideas for living well, aging boldly, and staying sharp, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We've got a lot more coming your way. Thanks for spending this time with me. Here's to keeping your mind just as strong and flexible as your spirit. You've got this. And remember, every day is a good day to grow.